Hi, I'm John Sicotte, executive editor of the Brewer magazine. Thanks for joining us for another Brewer magazine video podcast. And I say that with a smile because it's going to be audio only for this episode because of technical difficulties. Had a great chance talking with Mark Beaver of Saucy Brew Works in Cleveland, Ohio. We worked on a story for the next issue of Brewer, which we just finished up last week. It should be in mailboxes coming out here, coming out soon, the May-June edition. And one of the stories that we worked on is called The Data You Need to Better a Sales Program. And Mark gave us some great insights. Unfortunately, could not get the video to work, so we jumped on the phone, recorded it, and I wanted to share it with you right now.
Like, what are the important parts in defining the responsibilities of territory and target accounts for a sales position, and what kind of roles do you guys have at Saucy right now when it comes to sales reps and account managers and sales managers?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting demographic for us. Over the last couple of years, especially the last couple of months here, we've really reorged and changed how we've looked at sales. I think one of the things that is problematic in the craft industry as a whole is having people as sales managers to just hit accounts and not do it in a meaningful way, and to not actually build relationships with those buyers, be it a bar or a grocery store, off-premise to on-premise. And so I think the one thing that we have done is, taking that a step further of having our salespeople be, more than just that guy who's popping in and giving people stickers and dropping off his card in the can, to really identifying key accounts that matter, working to build a relationship with those buyers, especially in the grocery. And not to go off on a tangent, but COVID showed everybody that off-premise is one of the most important places to be. The on is getting more and more challenging. Loyalty, not so much loyalty, but saturation of the market has made sticking in a on-premise account difficult. But where you have opportunities in the off-premise, you can really speak to a customer a little bit easier. You can have accounts that stick a little bit easier, but that's often the same spot that salespeople struggle to penetrate. And so we've implemented, Retail Sales 101 is what I call it, which is a deep dive into an empathetic way of selling to retailers, where you actually ask a lot of questions, you see what they need, and offer items that fit their need rather than just selling to what's on your sell sheet per se. But then kind of taking that to the next step forward for us is these salespeople also have to be captains of their territory. And so my sales team has really dived into a analytical approach as well, and using VIP and Nielsen IRI to look at a category outright and then guide our wholesalers into making educated decisions based on our products as well. So I think a lot of craft breweries out there have guys seeing as many accounts as they can, but not doing it in a meaningful way, and then not interacting with the wholesaler in a meaningful way. And that's something that, over the last couple of months here, my team has gotten much, much better at understanding syndicated data, and then being able to use that data to drive our wholesaler and say, hey, here's the why of what we're doing, and then here's what we're going to do to support it, so that our wholesaler is walking, lock and key with us to get what we think is important done, rather than, we're going into stores selling one thing that they have different on their priority books. We're very much aligned as one team, and I think that's been a big change for us this year.
Nice. Is that change? I mean, have you had the opportunity to bring in new people, or is this kind of something that you're working with the team that you guys already have in place?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer that if you can sell, you can be taught to sell better. If you can't, you can't. My team can sell, and we're making them better. So currently, we haven't had the need to bring in more people. We're taking the guys that we currently have on staff, and we're elevating them.
Nice. When it comes to, especially when you're coming into something like this and you've had some background, have you, and like you said, you've made some changes already. Was it things to help motivate, make and help support what they're already doing, and like you said, make them even better salespeople? I mean, how are you doing that as a manager, and what have been some of those key things that you've been able to change that you've seen a positive impact in so far?
Yeah, so biggest point, I talked to some of our investors about this the other day, is really identifying what our true priorities are. I think a lot of craft breweries get caught up on the next hot thing without building a foundation of true core players within their portfolio. And that's the one thing that I've done with our team is really identify what's important to us. What are the top 3-4 packages that really matter? And inside of that, what one brand do we want to put, not necessarily all of our eggs into, but a lot of effort to make into a foundational state player for us. And so an example of that, with Giant Eagle, one of our best retail partners, we have in Cleveland, we have about 93% saturation within the store. But no single item we carried had more than 60% placements within their stores. So we had great placements, but store A might be different than store B, and store C might be different than store D. And when it comes to building a brand and awareness of the brand, you need people to fall in love with you a little bit, and then be able to find those same things across the board. And so that's been a big change for us, is really prioritizing top 3 and 4 SKUs without getting lost on one-offs and LTOs and collaborations that can kind of cloud our judgment. Instead, we're using those LTOs and collaborations to drive our core priority.
Nice. And is that something that it helps the salespeople that are out on the beat to be able to have more of a focus? They're not trying to sell so many SKUs that it clouds the waters. You guys are able to give them more of an opportunity. So that creates the sales goals all of a sudden, not that the amount of things that they need to work on shrinks, while they can still build, like you said, that penetration throughout an entire off-premise account.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want anybody on my sales team not knowing what their priorities are. And when you have 10 to 15 different SKUs to sell, that can very easily happen. And I've been through that in the past. If you ask anybody on my team, Matt Gosher's my Columbus sales manager, Sam Shoup is my Cleveland manager, and Joe Adams is my Cincinnati manager, Southwest Ohio manager. If you ask any of those 3 people what our priorities are, it's build Juicy ASAP to a foundational state player, drive our variety pack into as many retailers as we possibly can to get that demoing aspect of our business, and then chase our Imperial IPA behind that while supporting with seasonals and LTOs. So they will be able to recite that from day one. And that's one of the biggest changes that we've had. Is in the past, it's very much been, hey, every 2-3 months, we're going to have a new seasonal and LTO. We need to get that on the floor. So that's our priority. And really changing that to those are designed to elevate our priorities instead, where, hey, if you want to bring in this LTO, you also have to carry a Juicy ASAP, and drive Juicy ASAP is what's going to make us a top performer in the state. Gotcha.
Now, when it comes to sales performance indicators, how do you guys monitoring those? Is it a weekly thing? Do you have set weekly goals, monthly goals, certain sales goals? Is there a time frame, timeline, or is it based on volume? How do you guys find success, and have you seen that or had to change it in the past?
Yeah, so I rebuilt our entire bonus structure. Our bonus structure before I got here was for the most part built on total volume goals, which is why those LTOs were more of a priority, right? You could pick up quick volume by selling LTOs and try to hit your bonuses. We adjusted that to a quarterly total bonus, which includes a volume piece, but also a targeted distribution piece, growing our core brand, and then also a activity-based portion of that, which is getting in the market, doing demos in grocery stores, doing tap takeovers, getting beer of the month features, really penetrating those accounts. We do that quarterly, But on top of that, there are weekly things they need to accomplish. Right? They need to see X amount of counts each week. They need to report to their retailers or their wholesalers on what it is they saw in the market, what opportunities are coming down the pipeline, and looking at their inventory to make sure that they have enough for upcoming programs, or if there's any pinch points, a product that's running long, that we address that today rather than waiting until a product gets to a code date and we run into some other issues. So they have a quarterly base, but those quarterly goals wrap up into weekly targets, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And obviously, when it's laid out like that, it gives someone an indication of what's expected of them. If those expectations aren't met, if you're hearing or seeing performance issues, what sort of things do you guys have to get people on the right track, and coaching or training, things that you can bring them to the table to help explain how to get them back on track, and and give them that opportunity to be able to continue to improve?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Luckily, we haven't had to put anybody on a PIP yet or anything like that. My team is extremely eager to improve and grow and do so in a meaningful way. But I also firmly believe that your team's talent and your team's growth is a direct reflection on leadership. And my team over the course of the last 90 days has increased our core pod growth, so points of distributions, by 84%. We're on track to hit our distribution goal by Q3 for the entire year. And so we've been lucky to have a team that is extremely exciting about what we do. And that's one of the things that drove me to Saucy Brew Works is from the top to the bottom, from a sales team to marketing to brewing, there's an extraordinary passion for this company. And everybody wants to achieve. Everybody wants to get better. Everybody wants to improve. So we haven't had to have the conversation of, what does bad look like and how do we address that yet? And I hope that we don't have to have that conversation. But, for me, it's very much about getting these guys to the next level. So having them go from sales managers to really category captains, we're well on the way to that. Before I got here, the team had a fundamental understanding of VIP and how to look at some data, but now they're really starting to figure out how to manage their wholesalers, what gap reports look like, how to target certain accounts and drive our wholesaler. And then beyond that, they're starting to look at syndicated data, so Nielsen and IRI, and understand what the category looks like outright. And so they're improving day in, day out, and I couldn't be more proud of my team. So maybe in a few months you can ask me that question again of what bad looks like, but today we're on the up and up.
How about when I guess you haven't had to deal with this, so maybe we don't even need to talk about it, or maybe you can talk from previous life and journeys about just if someone's not having an opportunity to be able to do what they're supposed to be doing, what kind of directives do you guys have? Is there a 3 strikes and you're out, or different ways, policies, procedures, for either disciplinary action all the way up to termination?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit earlier about a firm believer that if you can't sell, you can't sell, but if you can sell, you can be taught to sell better. So on the other side of that is if you're not a salesperson, what is it that might work for you? And that's one thing that we want to do within our team is, frankly, I really hope I don't have to get rid of anybody for any other reason outside of theft or some extreme reason. I would more so hope that maybe sales isn't the right fit and we can find something else within our team that makes more sense. Maybe they want to get into brewing. Maybe they want to get into the operations side of the world. Maybe they want to get into the logistics side of the world. And I think that we owe it to them to try to identify that. So I don't think it's so much of a, hey, 3 strikes, you're out. It's, hey, maybe this isn't quite the right fit for you. Maybe let's try to find something that is the right fit for you and try to grow you that way. So I don't necessarily believe in the 3 strikes, you're out, if that makes sense.
Don't forget, you can always check on brewermag.com. You can also see us on YouTube and listen to us on Spotify. And don't forget daily updates on Facebook, Instagram, and X. I'm Executive Editor John Sicotte for brewermagazine.com.